Hello and welcome to Surviving Mars. This is the first time I have played this game. I just beat the tutorial, thank God. It's a really good tutorial for a Paradox game, but these 5 steps took a little bit too long. But the good news is that now I have a baseline understanding, if you can call it that, because I probably still have no idea what the mechanics are, but it should be a little more interesting than watching me read tooltips, which is what this is going to be anyway. With that, let's get started in the tooltip reading simulation. The first thing we can customize is our mission sponsor, and this is essentially just the difficulty mode. So we've got very easy all the way up to hard, and normal is somewhere around here. However, International Mars mission is the default, but it does say very easy. So I'm not very certain about if I am meant to, upgrade it to one of these normal ones, right, for our first playthrough here. So I'll just keep it on this default. It says it's recommended for first-time players, actually, so that's gonna be the play. Next, we've got our commander profile. So this is just a base little boost. It defaults to rocket scientist, which gives us an extra rocket and CO2 jet propulsion. I'm not sure that extra rocket is going to be super useful right away, just because using those rockets does seem to cost money, which might be tight. So I'd like to get something that's a little bit more passive and always going to be working in the background. So this inventor one kind of fits that bill, but it is something that phases out after Sol 100. Oligarch, fuel production is increased, that might be great. Starts with a water deposit. More birth. They recover more sanity. Funding gain is increased, breakthrough tech research. Comfort of decorations, so if you want to go ahead and do a little bit of decorating. Alright, I think we are going to start with fuel production, so we are going to go with an oligarchy and really create some class strife within our colony. Colony logo, I assume this is just a cosmetic. So because we are an oligarch, we do have to pick, not the hammer and sickle out here, but, maybe like if there's a dollar sign, I think that would be good. So maybe Space Y is a good pick for that. Yeah, we're gonna go with Space Y. We can choose a mystery. I'm not really sure what this is. It can be easy, medium, or hard. It does increase your difficulty itself. Our difficulty did go down to 110 because we chose something. Oh, it is the oligarch. So depending on what you choose, your difficulty also goes up and down. So I'm not really sure if that's like a passive deal that's going on, or if that's just an estimate for your mode. It does default to a random mystery. I think we will stick to the default, which is random, and it'll be fun for me to lose my mind over whatever that ends up being. Okay, so those are our game rules to start here, so hopefully I haven't nerfed the game into being completely easy. It's always a little unclear about what it is when you do select those settings. Okay, we can choose our starting payload. I'm not really sure what the balance is going to be, so I'm not really going to change these settings here at first. And we can select a landing site. Oh, okay. Well, we can move the map. So it starts with some like pre-selected ones that I think are just like places where it might be a good idea to start. And it does, impact your starting difficulty there in the top left as well. So it's kind of cool how it's a dynamic calculation. This is similar to the other Paradox games, which, you know, in those games that number is in fact totally irrelevant. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the easiest one, which is, I believe, 130 we saw. Right. So it looks like this one's pretty flat, which is a good start. Less concrete and not too bad on the threats, so. And we can also pick a custom spot, which is just a random seed there. Okay, welcome to Mars. Everyone is impatient to see you touch down and unload your cargo. Our remotely controlled eyes and hands on the red planet, the drones and rovers. The goal is to secure a foothold for humanity by building the first Martian dome. This daunting endeavor will allow the brave pioneers, the founders, to settle on Mars and prove that the colony is sustainable. But until then, we have to make sure that the colony has enough construction resources, water, oxygen, and power. So it's really a challenge, the way I interpret it, to see how quickly I can make sure that those pioneers die from the time that I get them. Let's designate a landing site for our rocket. Okay, so I actually wonder, you know, as you've picked that spot on the planet, you can no longer, you know, explore the rest of the planet, right? This is kind of like 10 by 10 grid. Seems to be all that you have, and it is a really large map as well. Like, this is enough for one playthrough. You don't really need to explore other places of the map, but it's interesting that that seed, you know, you don't really get to see that ever again within the playthrough. I'm actually gonna pause the game as it goes for Paradox games. The majority is spent on pause. So we can receive a one-time grant, we can increase our power production, or increase our overall production, but increase power consumption. We can make our RC transports better, or we can make rockets and shuttles require less fuel. So we're gonna make our transports better. These ones kind of come with a trade-off, it seems. Well, this one's a one-time, this one has a trade-off. And I'm not really sure how often we're going to use rockets and shuttles in the first couple minutes of the game, so we'll save that one for a little later. And looks like the game's been updated, which is great, but not really relevant to me. And I am playing without any of the DLC. I just have the base game, and I'm actually using the Xbox Game Pass, so we'll see how broken the game ends up being because of that. Okay, our first rocket is landing, so now we'll get a bunch of little drones and transport vehicles that spill out. There they come. Aren't they adorable? And this is the beginning of our game here on Mars. So the buildings are constructed by drones. Thank you. I spent a long time playing the tutorial for you to spit basic information at me again, so I think that's great. But it is suggesting that I build a large solar panel, and really, who am I to argue with that? So I'm gonna go ahead and see where the best location for that is. And it seems that it's not too picky about where it's gonna allow me to place that. And let's see, do we have enough metals? We don't have enough metals for another one. So let's send out our transports to gather some of these little rocks out here. Okay, so we started a little self-contained concrete extractor over here, and by self-contained I mean that it kind of has its own dedicated wind turbine that's gonna power it. So look, that's the beginning of our colony there. Our solar panel is complaining that nothing is consuming its power, which, you know, too bad. We've got excess power because of that. We haven't built any buildings yet.
No active research. Research complete. Anomaly analyzed.
And suddenly we have a whole lot of alerts. So drone hubs are constructed with additional 2 drones, and the maximum of drones is increased. That seems like something that's good for when we do want more drone hubs, which isn't exactly right now. So I am going to go ahead and grab the upgrade for shuttles. I'm going to build a power accumulator so that all this excess power we actually can store for the future. And let's go ahead and place that. I think we've got a solar panel, yeah, right here. So it wants me to build a drone hub. Looks like we have a prefab of that, so it should be free for us to place immediately. and it's complaining that we don't have enough power, which is fine, and we'll just go ahead and place another power source to be able to power that. So we've got a bit of metal now, so we should be pretty set to have that in place. Let's see if we've got any other... We've got 2 Stirling generators, so that's probably where we should be getting some of our initial power here. So now we've got plenty of power, and I'm just trying to see what other prefabs we have. Looks like we've got a moisture generator. So again, this one looks like it's not really dependent on where you do end up placing it. Now I'm wondering if there's any, downside to really clustering together all these buildings. Maybe I will end up blocking off some of their pipe connections or something like that. I know I'm typically used to playing something like a City Skylines game where because you don't want to expand your city too much, or because you want to use some of the common buildings together, you don't want to cluster them out too much. So that's kind of my maybe bad habit when it comes to this game. It seems we do have a free dome that we can actually drop in right away. So if we do explore any of these sectors, we can put that in immediately. So let's go ahead and use our orbital probe. Well, this sector is almost done scanning, so I actually don't want to rush that process too much. Maybe we will actually... We don't have enough space in this sector now to push, to put that dome. I believe. Or, well, we could put it, like, over there. Over here, actually. Let's do that. It wants me to put a sensor tower. It is too early to place a dome. Well, thank you for telling me that. We don't necessarily have any colonists in it, so I'm not really sure what the disadvantage of that is and why it's telling me to cancel. We'll just have it be empty for a little bit. Thank you. So it does have a lot of suggested buildings that it's throwing at me right away. So let's start with the first one, which is the Scanny Sensor Boy, I believe. So for our next research, we can choose between clearing salvaged and destroyed buildings, the drone hubs, the power production and the power consumption, and the one-time grant. So I am not immediately attracted to any of these 3 things, so I am going to grab that one-time grant just to be able to have it for now, as if we do want to call in our little supply rocket. And yeah, we just got a milestone because we constructed that dome, so that's why we got a research boost again. And this is not getting constructed because we don't have concrete, so it sounds like it's actually kind of a chicken or the egg incident with the way that I placed it, because it's not self-contained. It doesn't have any concrete. You need concrete to get concrete, I guess. So we do have to connect it to our dome to be able to power the concrete generator, to be able to get its dedicated power supply going. Earth HQ has just approved a new project to expand our Martian operations. The endless stream of scientific data flowing in is too much to be handled even by the largest organization alone. The top brass of our sponsor have just made the decision to sell the data to third parties by setting up remote transmission facilities on Mars. We've discovered the special project Contract Exploration Access. It can be completed multiple times to get funding. So is this a research? Oh no, it's not. Oh, so it looks like here we are looking at our big old planet again. So maybe you can actually colonize the whole thing. So that's definitely a pleasant surprise there. We still need a lot more power, it looks like, so I am gonna... Let's see, and these are all constructed. It's just that it's not producing power during the night, so hopefully once we get this little operation running, I'm realizing this isn't built, so I have to modify this again to be able to have it connect there. And hopefully this should be running now. We'll have power at night and be able to finish this up. So I think we just need to wait until it is the daytime. Right, this isn't connected to a power producer. There's just not enough power to go around. So right now our colony is powered because it is the daytime. Meanwhile, I am going to start throwing up blueprints for some more wind turbines in this area. Actually, I should have looked at the elevation boost. Right, our whole area here is pretty flat. I don't want to build pipes that are too long. We finally have concrete. After all that, we finally connected the power, so it's taking a very roundabout way. I thought I would be able to jump through our oxygen stuff over here, but I guess that's not connected to power necessarily. Well, this one is, so I'm not really sure what the deal is with that, but it finally has power because of this long roundabout connection there. So now we're finally getting a little bit of concrete, and that should put our wind turbines into place starting very soon. So I'm not sure how many parts I'm gonna make this playthrough. And you know, as I was playing the tutorial, I noticed it's super good looking. Like, the game absolutely looks great. And you can really zoom in to see the details on this idle drone for one, but really anything that's going on is very well detailed. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, I'm not really sure how many parts of this one we'd like. I don't normally, I've never done a let's play of a strategy game, or I guess this is more of a city builder. So yeah, we'll kind of see if this is just going to be like a one part let's try. But if it is, I definitely want to be able to get some people into this dome. It'd be very sad if I didn't get to even explore that mechanic. Okay, so our wind turbine is finally up and running. That was like a 10-step process, unfortunately. And so next we should be able to get our power accumulator built, and we should be able to have power to get us through the night, which will make our stuff a little bit more consistent. It's crazy that it's like Sol 4 already. I think that's like a lot. I'm not really sure. So I believe this dome almost has everything it needs to be able to get some colonists. I think we just need some of our initial services. So I believe the living complex. Let's see. We don't need these yet. We could do the research lab, but I don't know that we have green stuff as resources. I'm not seeing it in our resource bar. Oh, just JK Electronics. So we could place this. We don't have enough concrete yet, I believe, and it is pretty expensive in terms of power. So I think we will skip it for now. I think the spacebar does become something that you do want to have. It's a huge amount of comfort, so I'll go ahead and place one of those. So I'm gonna go ahead and build a universal depot to be able to get some of that storage a little bit easier in the future. So you can see it's unloading, it's all the metals there. And this whole thing, I think, will be full of metals. It stores, yeah, up to 30 metals is the capacity. Maybe we can expand. No, it just stores 30 of each, so it's going to be absolutely full of metals. Maybe the drones will use some to build the water tower, which is not connected, even though it's right next to the moisture evaporator, which is out of power. And this whole network of things is not working. So this is probably why you don't want to cluster your things together too much, as it gets very messy like this. But it's really, you know, a compulsion for me, I think, to get the most out of my space, even though there's really so much. So yeah, if you guys have any tips on what the ideal way to space things out or what the balance is, like, I'm not sure if having a longer pipeline. Right, it does cost 1 metal for 5 hexes, which is pretty far. That's not that much metal. Right? I think this is 5 hexes. That's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is 5 hexes, so that would be 1 metal. So that's not very much. Alright, so we are building this here. So we just need concrete to be able to get our spacebar, and our living complex. And I think after that, it should be basically good to go. Just need a little bit more concrete here. I think since we do have some resources and concrete seems to be a bit of a bottleneck, we might want to go ahead and build another concrete extractor. Right there. And then we will need a power connection. So I'll hopefully kind of make it, you know, self-contained this time in the sense that it is going to have a solar panel and not a wind turbine. And then just in case there is any excess, I am going to connect it back to our grid. Okay, so we have a breakthrough technology that we found. I'm not really sure how we found it, but we do have it now, and it lets our drones carry 2 resources at once, which I think is great. So our living complex is almost up here, which means we should be able to request our first passenger rocket very soon. So we have to figure out what specializations we want our people to be, and there's so many. I'm not really sure what the ideal mix is here. Okay, so I think we finally got our 12 colonists here. This took like longer than I thought. The filter system is kind of annoying to use, really. It took me a while of fiddling back and forth with it. And maybe I would have been better off just scrolling through the list. So if anyone has any tips on how to do that the most efficient way, I would really love to hear that. Okay, so our rocket is ready to land. Our little passenger rocket here, that is. So let's go ahead and land it super close to our dome and get our first group of willing victims. Yeah, so, you know, this really is all an experiment about how fast these people are gonna die under my supervision, but we do have some homes for them to really hold out hope while they have the opportunity to do so. So there's the rocket descending. It's hard to capture it. You can see it a little bit on this, like, zoomed out map. There it is. Whoops. And there we go. We've got a new beginning. We've got our first humans there on Mars, all running in their little spacesuits. I'm realizing I did not look at the male-female ratio, so this might be all dudes out here, and we might be a little bit screwed. So hopefully this is somewhat a diverse group. But yeah, with that, I am gonna end this episode here. We've gotten our first major achievement, which is really the building of our dome and our first group of colonists. So let me know what you think of the episode, and if you'd really like to see me torture our first group of victims further, right? Which seems to be the point of the game. Look how happy they are. Yeah, looks like they are. We've got a little bit of diversity within this first group. Let's actually wait for them to walk on in. And I think they have different uniforms based on their jobs, even though some of them are unemployed. So right, like so our medic here. And now they're just gonna go about their day. So yeah, let me know if you'd like to see me play with Ann Chen over here. Really see how fast or how long she can survive here on Mars at, you know, the hands of an incapable leader such as myself. So with that, I will hopefully see you in the next episode, whatever that might be. Alright, take care.